All right. First and foremost, I'm gonna say all praises be to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Makar, Kodash. And then I'm gonna say double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. And shalom to the sincere elect, teaching the truth and faith and sincerity. Quick topic I want to speak on is based on a topic of the scattering. And it's like, it's really, I mean, if the spirit is dealing, right, it's very easy to see that well and truly that the actual seed of the 12 tribes of Israel have truly been scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, man. You know, and it's like this why, man. It's about really being spiritual, like especially when people come up to the camp and they're inspired in the spirit to listen and even go as far as vibe, with what's being said, with what we speak about, you know it's important to when people like that come up, even if they look like, I don't know, a Moabite or an Edomite or even a Hamite or any other nation, right? If they're there, they're vibing and listening, then they are most likely, man. You know what I mean? Like an Israelite, you know. And it's like, just because you look like you're of another nation doesn't mean you're of another nation. And just because you look like you're an Israelite, it doesn't mean you're necessarily like an Israelite. Like in the scriptures, you have something called the wheat and the tares, man. And tares speaks unto the point of like you have you have Edomites that look like Jake, man. You see, those being those tares, but this guy over here, right, is an English footballer, right? This guy's name is Cole Palmer, and if you see this guy, you think he's a scrawny white boy, you know? You be like, yeah, man, that's a scrawny, you know what I'm saying? Like a scrawny dude. But this guy, in fact, is a very good footballer, you know. So even that, he's a skillful. You know what I'm saying? He's skillful. He's very good at what he does, but he just this dude looks like a straight up cracker, you know. And if this dude came to certain camp and said, "Hey, man, I want to learn, I want to listen," you see, oh, look at this guy's the Edomite, brother. All right, now if you see this dude at certain people's camps, or certain camps that only go by the flesh, all right. If this dude came past their camp, they'll say, you're an Edomite and, and you're going into slavery, right? But then let me show you a picture of his father and grandfather. All right. So as you can see, this is a picture of his father, sister, mother, and him. Now, the the father is a so-called light-skinned Jake. His father probably had an Edomite mother, and obviously a Jake father. And as you see, this Jake Cole Palmer, he looks like a straight up white boy. You see, and that's his mother. So that's his father, his sister, who took more of the Jake looking characteristics, his mother, and that's him. You see. Now, case Jake say, well, his father looked like he could be, I don't, we don't know. Okay, this is his grandfather. All right, this same Jake, right? Cole Palmer. That's his actual grandfather. You see? And it says here, man, what's going on, man? I don't know. Yeah, come on, man. Okay. It says the Caribbean connection. Cole Palmer's granddad reveals his family's journey from Saint Kitts to Manchester, and how he and TikTok star musical roots run beyond rapping on TikTok. So as you can see, right, this dude looks like a straight up white boy, but that's his grandfather. You see, now other camps would be like, if a person comes up to the camp that looks white, he'd be like, well, who's your father? And I can, who's your father's father? But then if he went to some of these other camps, right, his look would confound them straight away. But anyway, I'm doing a lot of talking. I want to get some scriptures, man. This is Numbers chapter 1 and 18. And they assembled all the congregation together on the first day of the second month. And they declared their pedigrees after their families by the house of their fathers, according to the number of the names from 20 years old and upward by their posts. Now, the reason why I brought out the scripture is because it's very important to understand, right? You are an Israelite based upon the seed of your father, going back to the man, right? Whose name, man, is Israel. You see? You have something called the 12 tribes of Israel, which go back to those 12 sons that, that go back into that man, right? Now, that's why it's important, bro. You are who you are based upon your father's line. But because we've been scattered amongst all peoples, tongues, and nations, we've truly discontinued from our heritage, as the scripture says, and we've been scattered. So you've got many of our people with this exact same story, but guess what? They just simply don't know. Because a point like I always make, right? You don't know how far back the scattering goes. And what I mean by that is, a person can be the most white, mobile looking person now, but then you don't know who his great grandfather is, and how that person looked in, let's say, ancient Rome, or during the Dark Ages, when Jake was ruling, or how their great grandfather on their forefather's side looked in, let's say, during the time period of the Greeks. A person in their line could have been scattered, or laid with a lady like of other nation back in ancient Greece, and then now, over the course of time of those sons being born, and then mixing with, let's say, heathen or whatever it may be, they might get to a stage now that in that line they look like complete heathen, complete damn Edomites or Moabites or whatever. But guess what? On their father's line, they go back to the seed of Jacob. You know what I mean? So that's why it's important to be spiritual, man. Right? So let's get Deuteronomy 28, right, and 64, right? And this example that you know what I mean, I gave on this Jake, And I personally know Eve, man, Benjamite, looks like a complete white girl, like blonde hair, blue eyes, and very pretty, and can sing. She can sing her heart out. But guess what? If you saw her on the street, you think she's a complete white girl, and guess what? She actually makes it, you know what I mean, a point to mention that her father's a Benjamite. Like, and I've actually met her father. Like, her father is a so-called light-skinned Jake, and her grand grandfather is a very dark-skinned Jake. And it's the same story, and that cycle has taken place in various time periods upon the earth, man. So this is why it says this in Deuteronomy 28:64. And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people, from one end of the earth even unto the other. And there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. So that's what's happened. Right? The seed of the 12 tribes of Israel, man, have been scattered among all peoples, tongues, and nations, man. They've been scattered amongst all people, tongues, and nations, to the point where they look like these other nations. And again, you don't know how far back the scattering has taken place, man. A person might look like a complete pale Edomite now, but then their foreparents, you know, their forefather could have been, you know, gotten stuff for Edomite wife back during the time period of Antiochus Epiphanes and Greece, or Britain and Rome, or even further than that, did various times of history. This is why we must be spiritual, man. Right? This is why the scripture says this, right? Romans 8:16. The Spirit itself beareth witness with our spirit that we are the children of God. And you know, Jake vibe with his Bible. Jake vibe with his book. Jake to naturally have a consciousness of there being a Most High, right? And more importantly, Jake stick out, even if they're scattered amongst these other tongues and nations, man. This is Deuteronomy chapter 7:6. For thou art a holy people unto the Lord thy power. The Lord thy power chosen thee to be a special people unto himself above all people that are upon the face of the earth. And special people means exactly that, special people. And special people stick out, even if they maybe blended in among other people, man. Special people stick out. There's a reason why the scripture calls us the lost sheep of the house of Israel, man. You see? And that's our story, man. Which is why now you've got many brothers and sisters that, you know, are turned to the Lord, are turning on to the Lord, are waking up, are pushing this word, are believing in this truth, right? But that look like the other nation. That's because we've been scattered amongst them. This is Ezekiel 11:16. It says, therefore say, thus saith the Lord, how about Shema Shai? Although I've cast them far off among the heathen, and although I've scattered them among the countries, yet will I be to them as a little sanctuary in the countries where they shall come. So again, like all over the whole globe, man. Which is why, you know, we have to be spiritual. Now, again, certain camps will actually like accept this guy now and be like, all right, you know what? Because he can prove who his grandfather is, so we know that, you know what I mean, that he's an Israelite. But guess what? There are many of us, or many Jake, that can't even prove this. And again, just because his grandfather looks like this now dark skinned man, you don't know how his grandfather's great grandfather may have looked in the dark ages. Now again, it's there will still be, I mean, like an Israelite through the spirit, of course, because they have the spirit, you know what I mean, of Israelites. But a person can be so-called dark skinned now, right? But then his great grandfather during the dark ages, or during, Rome on his father's side, looked like an Edomite. And then further on back then, that's because Jake got scattered back then too. And then, you know what I mean, back in Rome, this same dark skinned man's hair, great grandfather, could look like an Edomite completely in Rome, but going further back up in that line of scattering, then that seed could have still gone back to the 12 tribes of Israel anyway. So a person's skin tone now doesn't necessarily mean a person is an Israelite or isn't. Because at the end of the day, it's down onto the spirit. But predominantly speaking, of course, the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans are the 12 tribes of Israel, but as well as their seed scattered. You know? And like another point, right? There's a brother that, he's not in the camp, but he helps us brothers here, you know what I mean, like in our camp. He might, give a brother like a lift with his van, or if a brother needs help with a van or whatever, needs stuff moved or whatever it may be, right? I kid you not, my brothers, right? This brother is that, you know what I mean, is a help unto us. Is as dark as Mark Henry. He kind of looks a bit like Mark Henry, all right? And you know what I mean, I'm someone, you know what I mean, I'm like, I always, that brother always helps me out, man. There's been times where my car's broken down, or I've needed things fixed in my home, and he's been a fantastic help. He's helped many brothers in our camp, and he's got a cool spirit, man. He's cool. The dude doesn't necessarily know the faith, but the spirit of the Lord has just come upon him to help, right? And brothers, like, this dude, right, kind of looks like Mark Henry, and is as dark as Mark Henry. Well, guess what? He told me that on his father's line, on the particular Benjamin island that he's from, that his great grandfather, I think his great grandfather's grandfather or something like that, was a white Scottish preacher who taught on a Caribbean island back during the time of slavery. Now, he's an Israelite, like in his spirit, man, he's an Israelite. Of course, as you know, Jacob been scattered amongst those Scottish and stuff. But the point I'm making now, we know through faith that this brother that helps us out, has the same spirit as Jake, vibes with us. We know that he's an Israelite. But like in his father's line, back during the time of slavery, his full father on that side and looked like a straight up white Scottish dude. Now, a person be like, okay, because his forefather's Scottish, so that means he's an Edomite. No, because again, you don't know how far back that scattering goes, because that same Scottish man, looking so-called white back then, further back down in his line, let's say during the dark ages, could have been a dark-skinned man. That same seed line still goes back to the man of the 12 tribes of Israel anyway, because our people are being scattered, man. You know, because it's equally uh, like as you got 12 tribes of Israel that look just like heathen, right? You have Edomites and stuff that look like Jake, which is why you have to be spiritual, man. Right? This is um Deuteronomy 4 and 26. I call heaven and earth to witness against you this day, that ye shall soon utterly perish from off the land whereunto ye go over Jordan to possess it. Ye shall not prolong your days upon it, but shall be utterly be destroyed. And the Lord shall scatter you among the nations, and ye shall be left few in number among the heathen, whither the Lord shall lead you. And guess what? If Jake's amongst these heathen, what are they doing? They're dealing with their women, all right? They're Jake losing their way, right? Now worshiping their gods, right? Doing their customs, as Psalm speaks about. We're mingling among the heathen and learn their works, man. All right? And it says, and there ye shall serve gods, the work of men's hands, wood and stone, which neither see nor hear, nor eat nor smell. But if from thence thou shalt seek the Lord thy power, thou shalt find him, if thou seek him with all thy heart and with all thy soul. So the scripture says that even though we've been scattered, if you seek the Lord with all your heart and all your soul, you'll find him. And it even says this, when thou art in tribulation and all these things are come upon thee, even in the latter days. So are we not in the latter days now? Of course we are. And in these latter days, 12 tribes of Israel, as you know, you're scattered amongst all peoples, tongues, and nations. However, in these latter days, many of them are turning unto the Lord, even though they've been scattered amongst these other nations, right? In these latter days. Because I don't know how many times I can keep saying it, like the 12 tribes of Israel. Like, we've been in so much captivities, man. You know, Jacob been in so much captivities, Jake migrate, Jake move around. Certain regions of the earth are hot spots during certain times, right? When certain kingdoms and like an empires have power, certain regions have the like metropolis vibe, right? Certain other regions in different time periods of history might be more popular, where people, go and work and mingle and things happen. That time period could be under the Persian Empire, under the Greek Empire, under Rome, under the Mongol Empire, right? The great Chinese Empire, like, and Jake move around. Jake move around and migrate. And as equally as you have Jake in those regions that knew that they were Israelites, a time came when there was a falling away, where we all discontinued, man, and all of us are heritage. Which is why you have scriptures like this, James chapter 1 and 1. James, the servant of the Most High and of the Lord Yahushua HaMashiach, to the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad. Now, if you go into the word scattered, it means a scattering, all right? Dispersion of Israelites dispersed among foreign nations, of the Christians scattered abroad among the Gentiles, which is the same thing, because the real Christians are the Israelites, anyway, right? So, of Israelites scattered amongst foreign nations, man. And how do you get scattered amongst foreign nations? You might be among them, go into their women, learn their customs and learn their way. Maccabee speaks about that time period where you have a lot of our people who took license to do the customs of the heathen. So what do you think what's happening? In that same time period of Maccabees, when Jacob was under persecution, it spoke about how it wasn't even lawful to call yourself a Greek, man. You call you yourself a Jew. So what do you think was taking place? You know, Jake just embracing that heathenistic way of living, going as far as to change their names, stop being circumcised, and have seed with the, the, the other nations. And then for a period of time, let's say that light-skinned son is born and does the same thing, and that light-skinned son is born and does the same thing. You end up with a great grandchild that might look like a complete heathen, but his seed still goes back onto you, and his seed man is of Israel, man. Which is why we have to be spiritual, man. Right? You know what I mean? There's wheat among the tares among the wheat, and that's why in these last days, when the Lord comes back, man, the Lord is gonna send His angels, man, to gather that, man, and make that separation happen. You see? You know, and even on that example that I brought of that Jake, right? You've got, yeah, I mean, another guy. You got this Jake here. So this Jake here, again, he's another footballer. Looks like a complete white boy. All right? If you see him, you be like, you know, that's a white boy. You know what I mean? If you see him, you be like, this boy is white. You know, if you see him, that's just a, you know what I mean, a white boy, so-called. But this guy here too, man, is a Benjamite. And if you look at him, he speaks about his father. All right? So this is his father, man. The guy on the left, a light-skinned Benjamite. You know? Let's type in Emil Smith Rowe father. All right? Yeah, so the guy on the, yeah, you see? So that light-skinned Benjamin, like on the left, is his father. And I believe that girl on the right is a sister of his. You see? That's his father, man. You know? Which is why we have to be spiritual. Because you have Israelites that look like all these other nations, man. But even in these days, especially in these days, we're seeing many brothers and sisters come onto this faith who look like these other nations, man. Because at the end of the day, right, this is Psalms 147, yeah? Psalms 147 and 19. It says, He showeth his word unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgments unto Israel. He have not dealt so with any nation, and as for his judgments, they have not known them. Praise ye the day of the Lord, man. All right? So the word and statutes and commandments is only given unto the 12 tribes of Israel. The scripture also says, my sheep hear my voice. So if you have a situation where a person looks just like a heathen, but he's hearing this word, he's vibing with this book, you know, he's vibing with the scriptures, he's wanting to learn, you know, well, that person's an Israelite, man. And even just observing Jake vibe, you know, 9 times out of 10, if you see a person that looks like a heathen, but he's vibing with Jake, doing the same thing as Jake, because he is Jake, you know, because we've been scattered. But yeah, hey, I just wanted to speak on that topic. I hope and pray to edify the video. So with that, say all praises be unto Yahweh, Shabbat Shalom, Kadash. The one that's supposed to help is great. Most of next time, I'm going to say Shalom.